Yeah, oh yeah, yep.
20?
Yeah, I thought I was gonna be moving south after we retired. What's this horse?
Okay.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, except for I'm still married. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. Say hi, darling. Say hi. Good to see you.
Okay.
No, me either. Be very soft.
Other job.
Switch it back to the other way. So it's on the side.
You got my email, right? With the training stuff?
Yes. Yep, you're all set. See, but you're the only one who's on top of it.
Well, I just wanted to get it out of the way. Get back to my continuing legal.
Yeah, actually, the links that Nelson says were actually pretty good, I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but if Carmi wants the links that she set
It's
to
just
be
this
utilized for the
switch.
sexual harassment training.
This is for the training in general.
Oh, okay, yeah, the
Yeah,
ones
I
from
thought they were
general,
great.
yeah, they updated actually their site, so. But the other ones that I sent made, I don't know, they're probably as good, but we'll just buy the ones that Carmi sent.
Yeah.
For those that are gonna do it.
I think it's next week, I want to say the training is.
The 26th.
Yeah.
So, you know, you and Nelson, I will not be here next month.
Okay,
Or the date of the meeting next month, is not the date I can make.
okay.
Ends up moved.
The 20 or the 16th.
Yeah, it's
Flying to
16.
Florida. Afternoon.
No.
Comfortable wearing it or so choose.
So, oh, you know. No, it's coming. I think every week. That was like campaign events. Music, there was music, there was karaoke, and it tends to be ended by fireworks.
Melissa has a sign sheet.
It sounds like it will. We were in it.
All right, it is 7 o'clock. We can get started. Want to welcome everybody to the October 19th, 2021 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. We have one public hearing for an application that was submitted last time, and we have 3 new applications that we'll be reviewing as well. We like to, at this time, have an open forum for people to make comments or questions regarding the business of the zoning board. And this would be of items not on the agenda, because during those particular application periods, we'll have opportunities for people to speak. So I'm going to go ahead and open the open forum. And again, if this is having anything to do with the zoning board other than what items that are on the agenda. Sure.
Hi, Lynn Bruning,
Okay.
13388 Twinsburg Road. I'd like to have these public comments included in your zoning board minutes. September 23rd, 2021, the town board held a public hearing and adopted local law 2 of 2021, the temporary moratorium law on major solar energy systems and battery energy. This is the 3rd moratorium on solar development since November of 2019, and it is the 1st moratorium on battery storage. I urge the zoning board members to be actively involved in the development of an updated solar law and new battery energy storage law. Our 2021 comprehensive plan states, we are committed to sustaining our valuable economic and natural resources, particularly agricultural land use, open space, natural habitats, and fresh watersheds. We support thoughtful growth and development that enables affordable taxes, enhances the character of commercial and residential zones. Utility scale solar industrializes our rural residential and agricultural zoned areas. In 2019, the developers of Oak Hill Solar obtained a special use permit for an 8.5 feet tall array. In 2021, the second owner and contractor wants a building permit for an array that is almost double in height at 14.5 feet. They also want to add 4 53-foot long containers of battery energy storage, backup generators, increased rows, and other changes. Utility scale solar facilities are power plants, and they should be sited within commercial and industrial zoned areas. And tonight I'd like to share with the zoning board a letter and some of my supporting research that I submitted to the planning board concerning PFAS solar panels and the precautionary principle. There is growing evidence that solar panel manufacturers use PFAS substances in the anti-reflective and anti-soil coatings applied to the surface of commercial solar panels. And studies have shown that these coatings may degrade as soon as 2 weeks. The possible contamination of soil, ground, and drinking water supplies is more reason that the zoning board should be actively involved in the siting of utility scale solar power plants and battery industrial and commercial areas.
Change it to Barbara over there.
Pass that around, and this is a copy for the clerk.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's gonna be one paper clip.
Okay.
There's a lot of research. No, just one whole thing.
Okay.
Yep, you got it.
Okay.
Yep, there's not enough packets for everybody. But Melissa has a copy for minutes.
Any other participants willing to make comments? I mean, this is your opportunity to do so. Okay, at this time then, we're going to close the open forum. And we'll go to first order of business with Richard Russell. Are you here? You are. Okay, if you want to just come a little bit forward. And we'll give you a pointer. Yes. And just, if you want to just kind of give us an idea of, again, what you're looking to be doing.
Yeah,
You can use the pointer and then,
You just hold this button down right here and just.
yeah,
oh, okay, great. I'm gonna build a 24 by 48 garage right here, which is 8 foot from the property line here to here, and 22 feet from here to here.
okay. And this is a garage, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And again, you own that first piece of property that goes up to
Right here.
Spring Road, right?
Yeah.
And then you own everything back that way.
Yes,
And of course, the setbacks are 40 feet from either side, so regardless, if you set it up in that narrower part of the property, it's gonna require, you know, side yard variance, either one side or the other, more or less.
right. That's what we figure on,
Okay.
two variances.
And then now, the understanding, I think you've mentioned this, you're gonna build some kind of residence for the back.
Yeah, back in here somewhere. The reason why I want to put the garage up here is because the ground's so soft and it'll be less of a driveway. And stuff like that.
You've got 2 wells.
Yeah, 2 wells, yeah. One is right there and that's good. Another one I didn't check out yet, right there.
Is there a specific address for that lot?
Wow, until you put a driveway in.
Okay,
And I want to clear up, I got a bunch of trees here, I want to clean all that up first before I could put in the driveway.
okay. So in theory, then you're gonna be running kind of a driveway of sorts. I guess it would be to the east side of the
Yeah,
existing, or the,
That'd be on this side, right around here.
okay.
So would the driveway that you put in would presumably only extend to the garage?
Yeah, it's going right to
You
the
would
driveway.
never make it past there.
No, I'll have a walkway maybe to the house.
So again, as we determine then, you'd be looking for a 32-foot variance on the west side and an 18-foot variance on the east side.
No, it was 8 and 22, wasn't it?
Well,
It's gonna be 8 feet off the lot,
Right.
40 foot would be what the law allows, so the variance is 32.
Difference of 40.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
And the same on the other side.
right, the west side is gonna be the larger, the 32-foot variance.
yeah,
And then you said it was 22 feet existing on the east side, so that would require an 18-foot variance.
yeah.
Also, because this is an R1 zone property, then it's gonna require a special use permit for a private garage. I think we touched on that as well.
Uh-huh.
You determined there would be no front setback on this, right? It's far enough back.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, because it's got from here to here is 115 feet.
yeah.
Does it need 80 or is it?
Yeah,
Because it's not understand.
it's already, well, it's a pre-existing size lot, so, and generally,
But this is well. We can only proportion the undersized lots if.
If it's a dwelling,
This
yeah,
is
yeah.
not a dwelling.
right. So we'll just. Actually, it's 40 all the way around for an R1. 80 would be for the R2.
What is the dimensions of the garage again?
What's that?
What are the dimensions of the garage again?
24 by 28.
Okay, you can have a seat. Um, Any other questions from the board?
A lot for the coverage rules.
Yeah. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna open the public hearing for this particular application. So those that would wish to speak, if you just give us your name and your address, and then we'll give you an opportunity to voice your opinions.
My name is John Beal. I own lot 40 and lot 39.
Okay,
I'm confused at what he's looking for. Is he looking to build a garage directly in the center of that property, or what are you looking
No, 8 feet off of your property and then,
for? So you want to be 8 feet from my property versus what's the town ordinance? on that?
right, because it looks like it has a driveway already there on that side.
You already have a driveway on your property?
Yeah, and that, on the other side, looks like on the opposite side of where your property is, it looks like there's a driveway that goes to the road there at one time.
On lot 42?
On that lot,
On lot 42?
on lot 41.
Lot 41 is your property.
Yeah, right.
So you already have a driveway on that lot, you said?
It looked like there was one there at one time.
Yeah, it did. I noticed that. It was
Yeah.
to the, if you're on the road looking in your property, it was toward your left.
Yeah,
So you're looking to go closer to my property on lot 40?
yeah.
And what's the normal setback? 15 feet?
now it's 40 feet.
And he's looking to go 8 feet?
He's going 8 feet, which requires a variance of 32 feet.
Okay, and so he's looking for the variance on both sides.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, there's no way to put the garage
Yeah.
there without.
So how would you go, so you're gonna have your driveway come in and you're gonna put your garage almost towards the center, closer to my property, right? So how are you gonna get to your house that you're gonna build on your mainland?
here. You got one, okay.
Yeah, there's a driveway right there. I want to take all these trees out,
Yeah,
put the garage there, or right around here. Then have the driveway come in here, and I can just pull in here. And because, it's all muddy and all that. If I have guests or something like that, they can park here, here, here. Then I'll have a walkway or something like that to the house here,
I mean,
a sidewalk.
at the very end of your property, according to your survey, you have roughly 54 feet, I think.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why you wouldn't center
Huh?
that? Is there a reason why you wouldn't center your garage?
Bring it back down here, you mean?
No, center, well, I mean.
Oh, center it?
Yeah.
Yeah, move it over, say,
Well,
10 feet, have 18 feet on each side, I believe is what he's suggesting.
But then, I think that would be the kind of like a waste there because I could use this as a parking area right here. And if I was to do that, then I would have to, put some kind of garage doors on that side too, then. So
Yeah,
to make it unusable.
So that's my question would be, so your driveway's to the far right, but your
Right,
garage is to the far
right,
left.
and the garage doors would be right there, so it wouldn't be.
So how do you get in your garage, from the front or through the side?
From the side right here, the two garage door, and probably have one little door right here. Yeah. Or maybe another one in the front, right?
And as a zoning board, how do you guys calculate this as far as what constitutes a true variance and what would make it viable?
You mean as an acceptable variance?
Yes.
Well, the problem is that these lots are what we consider the pre-existing undersized lot. They were basically created, prior to the kind of setback, requirements that we have in place now.
Right.
And so, again, and I'd said this earlier, regardless of where you place the garage, there's still going to be a variance requirement, on one side or the other.
Both, in fact.
Well, right, both, but it just to a, slightly different degree, but it's still, and again, that's kind of the nature of a lot of these, especially closer to the lake. The lots were originally smaller in size. So again, the variants that he's requesting are not altogether unreasonable. They're similar to variances that we, have confronted in the past.
You said 24 by 28, so 28 is the length.
Yeah, 28,
And so the 28 is
28 from here to here.
28 is there. And so what happens if I decided to build a garage on lot 40?
Well, you would probably be subject to variances as well.
Well, would that 8 foot make a difference?
No,
No, I just go by property line.
Yeah, it just goes by your property
Yeah.
line, not whatever buildings.
Okay, so your drive will come straight up your property line and then you'll be going, taking a right turn into your garage.
There, right in.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see any problem with that. Do you see any problem with that?
How's he getting out?
He's got a driveway, it's great.
Can you use that same driver to go in and out?
I would assume so, as most people do. Now, so your properties are here and here?
Correct, and I actually own one across the street too.
Okay. And this, my understanding is a right of way?
That's I was told a paper road, and according to the survey map, it is a common use.
Okay, so it's basically available to any town resident per se.
On that street, yes.
Okay,
It connects with a lot further down. There's, you can't see it on here, but there's a much larger lot down in there
okay,
that also has access from the main road.
Barry Shepherd.
okay.
And actually, my mother leases, she's living on lot 30,
Son,
she's
Jerry
living on lot
Shepherd.
39, she actually leases part of behind her from Barry Shepherd.
The thing it is,
Sure.
I'm Jerry Kennedy, I live there, my husband and I, and my son, he owns the house. But anyway, when we bought this, I had no idea there was a variance of any kind. And I don't know if anybody here saw that property before we bought it, but it was just a mud hole junkyard. And that side was a dump, and the 30-foot easement to the lake was a dump. It took my husband and I whole summers to take all that stuff and get rid of it. And the road was still like a cow path. And
Well,
so we, it
there's
took
a-
us
there's a
years,
Stream running through there.
years to straighten it out. And it's very upsetting because people think they can just run through it now that we put years and years of stone and work into that property. And they just run through there, think they can just use it whenever they want. My husband's not here because he's very, very upset. And I don't blame him because, like I said, he put years and years of work and money into that place. And I told this gentleman, you know, you're welcome to use it. But he came here one night with a lady across the street who's a big troublemaker, I'm sorry, but she is. And she told me, you don't need a driveway, use that anytime you want. And he had this trailer and we let him come in, which was a mistake because he had to pick up the survey pole in order to make the cut and to go into that land. So I'm thinking to myself, and I told him, I was trying to be nice to him, that any kind of heavy equipment or lumber or cement work or any type running through our property, going onto his land would destroy what we put into it.
It sounds like what you're trying to build is gonna take care of that, right?
Well, that's what I was trying to do,
Yeah,
stay away
yeah.
from problems.
And I want to be a good neighbor to you. It's not that I don't want it. And before he came there, you know, nobody back there except Richard Clute, which gave us a real hard time.
Keep it to the subject, right?
Yeah, but the thing of it is, what I'm trying to say is, he was trying to say he's gonna threaten us to take our porch off, and he just gave us, you would know, a living hell since we've been there.
Okay, and we're talking about this area that
Right,
is designated as the right of
Right.
way. Okay,
so if he had to use it to get his roadway started, no problem, I don't mind helping him out. But if he's got his own roadway, I don't want people running through there visiting him. Or having equipment going through there, if he needs to get through because he's working on that land, I don't have a problem with that. One day, my car was there, and I'm sure he was upset, but I'm so used to, my husband and I are both handicapped, we pull around the back of the house to bring in groceries and stuff. And I'm sure, all he had to do was say, could you please move so I can get out, no problem. We're good.
Okay. so in case this needs to be utilized to move something that may be more problematic through here, then you're okay.
As long as he goes through it, it's not really meant for a main
Yeah,
thoroughfare.
Right, that's understandable.
Yeah.
Okay, well then,
And
I
it was,
guess
and the way I understood it was like actually a fire exit. Because if a person has their own roadway, they don't need somebody else. I only have one exit. Why does everybody else need 2 or 3 exits?
well, I don't know what the original intent with that particular right of way was. You know, again, it was developed for, I mean, how long have you been there?
Well,
20
I
years.
spoke to Dale, I think originally they were gonna build some sort of development back there and
Yeah,
then put paper roads in.
Yeah.
But they ended up becoming all of our deeds that were, we could use it.
Okay,
So then I understood it was like a fire exit. No, naturally, definitely stop them from going through.
right.
Or if a fire truck needs to get through, we leave that open, so it's.
I mean, I couldn't tell, but this is passable for the most part.
The only, actually, the way back is just, it's swamp. It's
Yeah, I
not
couldn't
really-
tell from, because the
Yeah.
grade starts to go up.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
and I think he even has a problem with the wetland back there, which my husband even tried to help him mow and stuff, you know? We're not bad neighbors, believe me.
But eventually you will be able to get pretty much everything you need in and out of your property up through the front here, except for maybe some kind of construction type.
Right, that's all I figure on it, but once I get all the trees out of there and stuff in concrete trucks, excavators and that through the front. But it's gonna block the front. I have no access except for that easement getting down to the road. So that part is done.
Okay,
Yeah, so I'm gonna work on it. I'm gonna-
Well, as long as you folks kind of communicate with each other, so
That's right.
nobody's taken by surprise, then.
When you, with the way you have it set up there, you'll have 28 feet between your garage and the eastern property line, so
Will that give him enough room to get through with big
you
trucks?
should think so.
When he builds the
I
home?
mean, you may have maybe an instance or two if he's putting in a manufactured home where they need to bring it around or something.
And they wouldn't be able to get around it, I'm telling you right now.
Yeah,
They're
okay.
backed up.
Well, right,
Well,
that-
then they'll have to figure out how. you know.
You could ask
Yeah.
him, right? When we bought the trailer, we had
Yeah.
move that stake and put it right back, because it had to stay there. to go around it.
28 feet will be pretty good.
Would you be building your garage before your home?
Prior to the home, yeah.
You will, so how, are you trying to put a manufactured home?
I don't know right now. That was gonna be somewhere down the line, either manufactured home or build some actual. Idea was to get rid of the stuff I got at my residence now, and I'll bring it up there and store it in a safe place and call it done, and then, you know, then I could go from there.
Yeah, you might want to take that into consideration, because
Because if
only
I,
28 feet, it's not a lot.
if I build any deeper and all that, then you're talking gravel and concrete, I mean, anything, just to get a truck in there. Concrete truck, anything you want to get in there, delivery truck, you're gonna have to, you know, you have to make it stable so you don't get buried.
Would it be better if you had the garage back further, so you have no opening to bring in all this stuff?
No, that'll be more than enough.
Would be enough room?
Yeah, they just back and dump it. Only major loads I'm gonna worry about is for that garage would be the concrete, the trusses, and the timber. That's only major components.
Okay, and that all can be accessible from Spring Road side.
I believe.
I just see him get stuck, because I know, see, our place was kind of grandfathered in, of course, the guy had it, so I believe that was part of the easement, and with the town, I forget the thing, said that's, just that garage, that work is there, so. It probably was taking some of that 30-foot easement, but we can't help it, we bought it that way,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
what I mean, so.
Mhm.
You know, if we got a problem getting out, just let us know, okay? No problem with neighbors.
Thank you. Good, good. You done? Good. Okay, anybody else here like to speak on this particular application?
We're fine if we
You could if you want to, but
figure it out on this side.
yeah, the only thing, we're just gonna make a decision on the variance itself.
All
So if there's nobody else interested in speaking on this particular application, I would go ahead and close the public hearing. Any other questions? I'm going to go through the findings.
We need to have two different social findings, right? Because the special use findings are gonna be different.
Well, that's funny. I thought about that. The special use permit, if we basically denied that, then the variance application would be null and void. So I was kind of roll it into one.
Okay.
Unless somebody has any objection to that, because if we approve the special use permit, then we can further go ahead and make determination on the variances. So again, this will basically refer to both the special use permit and the variance request. So the first is whether an undesirable change would be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance. What's
That
that?
is near as I can tell.
Yeah, and again, as we determine that within that particular area of the lot, the garage is going to require variance on either side anyway. Whether the requested variance is substantial.
Yes.
Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created.
Function of a lot.
Then my inclination would be to say no, because you're kind of working with a pre-existing condition, so. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and make the motion here. Make a motion to grant Richard Russell of 3075 Sweet Lane, or Sunset Lane, Schenectady, for his property on Spring Road, SBL 35.06-5-38, a special use permit to construct a private garage and an east side yard setback variance of 18 feet and a west side setback variance of 32 feet on a pre-existing undersized lot to construct a 24 by 28 foot, one-story detached garage for the findings of section 14.5, 2B, providing a building permit be obtained within 6 months and all other aspects of the ordinance be followed.
I will second.
Thank you.
Nelson. Nelson,
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Matt.
Aye.
Tony.
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
Okay, you're all set. You'll see Dale about the building permit. Okay, and hopefully you'll have good communication with your neighbors and then. Okay, things will work out accordingly. Okay, thank you. Just let me know if somebody is trying to get our attention, if there's something that they wish to participate in. Okay, the next item of business, Richard Kirker. How you doing? We'll see if Melissa has a display and we'll give you a pointer in that.
I'm Joe Bianchini with ABD Engineers. Richard Kirk is here with me tonight.
Okay,
Richard recently purchased the little over 16 point something acres on Gage Road, the westerly side of Gage Road. Part of his previous family's farm out there. And he'd like to build his house there and a house for his daughter who just got married out there last weekend. So the lot is 16 acres, a little over 16 acres, about 750 foot in. You can see the strip of land there that goes in, that's about 750 feet to where it widens out in the back.
okay, just for orientation,
Yep.
is this Gage Road?
That's
here?
Gage Road there.
Okay,
Oops. Yep, that's Gage Road. This is about 750 feet here. Then it's another 600 and some odd feet back to a stone wall that goes there. And then he would get a little over 10 acres here for his house, and then another 6 acres or so back here for his daughter.
Okay,
The problem is that we only have 103 feet of frontage here. So we've set it up for a 60-foot strip that would go back to his daughter's, and then a 43-foot strip that would be his. That's why we need a variance of 16.5 feet or something for that strip.
right.
There's already a driveway in here. It's constructed a stone driveway back in. So that's all in back to about in here. So you have to extend it back.
So these properties here, is this,
That's not his.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
The name is on here. I can't read it.
that's fine, but I mean, so the,
Bartosic, maybe? It's on some of the
Okay.
materials we have. and
I can't read it. That's this one here. There's a house on that lot there.
Okay.
Right in there. So yeah, I mean, that's basically it. He wants to build his house and his daughter's house back in there. We have to go before the planning board to get subdivision. But we're here to see if we can acquire the variance that he needs for that strip of land going back in right through here,
okay,
which would be roughly 43.5 feet.
okay, that's, so, and then, the property was purchased in this configuration?
Right.
Okay,
Was subdivided several years ago through the town. And he purchased it, was that your cousin that owned that? Uncle, okay. He's purchased it from his uncle.
okay,
628 is a lot.
What's that?
This property next to Bartosic that also adjoins with your clients, little strip right there.
This street.
Yes. There's a
Yeah.
house there.
There's a house on that one too. Yeah. You can see it here, there's an aerial, it's kind of hard to see, but that's the one next to him. And then that's one on the 60-foot strip, that's all it is.
Huh.
And then there's another one on the next lot over.
so how far back does this go then?
That's all the way back
Yeah,
is 505, about 1,200, almost 1,300 feet all the way back.
Yes.
and then this is somebody else's property?
Yeah, that's lands of Eric Brown.
Okay. So I probably should have looked at this closer. How far north of Thousand Acre Road? Is this closer to Thousand Acre? Closer to-
I would say at least a mile.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay.
It's actually at the top of the hill on Beach,
Right.
closer to Jamaica Village. right?
Oh, okay, so it's closer to Route 20.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But maybe a quarter mile in.
Maybe about
maybe
half a
a
mile,
quarter
I think, yeah.
Okay.
Now, the building envelope you have marked on both those lots, are you confident that the ground there is?
Well, you should ask that. We're out there today doing perk test and it didn't work very well, so.
I see.
Nothing in Williamsburg perks very well.
I know. We've done a lot of perks out here, but we've got so much rain. It's just, it didn't work. So the intent is that we'll bring sand in this year, wait a year and build next year.
Yeah, it's going to all the trouble of subdividing and everything. I just want to make sure that.
Yeah, I know. That's why we did it. We thought we'd have better results.
Are there any items of note as far as, that might have like historical?
There was one thing in the environmental assessment that we put together that said there's a possibility of something. You know, if we have to, we'll have to get a letter from SHPO.
Okay, and that was in the nature of what, like a cemetery or?
No, I forget what it was. It was something nearby. It wasn't on this property, but you know, it's something in the neighborhood or somewhere up this way.
Okay,
Uh, so the house there at Bartosi's, is that a new house?
We were, I would say within the last 10 years.
That'd be this one
I
here.
would say 5 to 7 years.
Yes.
it's the only one I see on the map, so.
There is a snowmobile trail through the property too, but snowmobile, it's usually, he plans on kind of relocating that, so close to his house.
Yeah, I spoke to Tom Wilson about that, so we've been in communications. We want to, it's been using it, for many years, so we don't want to impede on that.
Can I see the aerial that you have?
Sure. As you can see from the area, most of it's an old grown-up field.
Yeah.
Which we've been brush hog, clear it out.
Is this fairly recent?
It's a few years old. It's grown up more than what it shows on there.
But there's no existing structures on the property? Okay. So, again, this is not, and this is R2 for the, but again, we're basically going by the flag lot definition, which is, again, the requirement for at least 60-foot frontage. So has an application been submitted to the planning board?
On for Thursday night.
Okay, right, and they would normally send it to Harley first.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this fairly clear?
What we need is roughly a 17-foot variance for the frontage.
Yeah. Any other questions?
So the total now is, as it exists, is 103, is that correct?
103, a little over 103, right?
Good. Okay,
We need a public hearing.
we're gonna set that, we just,
Yeah.
you can have a
Okay.
seat, I think
Okay,
you've got the information
okay,
that we need.
thank you.
So I'm gonna go ahead and just, as the ZBA will determine that this request for a lot line variance is an exempt type 2 action pursuant to Title 6 NYCRR Section 671.5 C12 or 13, and that no further action pursuant to seeker is required.
This variance isn't, I'm just wondering if the planning board might want to,
Right, that's why.
we're not really lead agent, I would think.
Well, for our purposes,
Okay.
I think we
Just
can
for our
do this.
purpose, okay,
Right.
as long as that's clear in the record, it's just
Yeah.
for our purposes.
Right, they're gonna have to revisit for the subdivision,
Right.
and they may need to look into it.
Or
further.
maybe to look at the secret for
Yeah.
subdivision, that's.
So we'll be separate seekers, theoretically.
Right, and that's where one could be a lead agent, but I'm comfortable with our, you know,
This, yeah, the 17-foot variance is a.
right. So I would need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Aye.
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 Okay, so the only other thing, if somebody could make a public hearing motion,
We will move that we set a public hearing for Richard and Tracy Kirker, 6 Independence Trail, Boston Spa, for a 17-foot frontage variance at 696 Gage Road, 65.00-1-31.131 under section 3.5.93B and section 14.5.2B to be held November 16th at 7 PM or as soon thereafter as they can be heard.
Second.
Dan,
Aye.
Nelson,
aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Aye. Okay, you're all set?
We'll see you next month.
Yes.
Thank you.
thank you.
Jeffrey Patterson. How you doing?
Not bad, how about yourself?
Good. Give you a point, oh, you got one. Okay, give us an idea what you're
Okay,
looking to
so
do.
this is my house. I live on 2 acres. I own this vacant lot, which is an 8-acre parcel. I own this vacant lot, which is a 20-acre parcel. I want to build this pole barn 20 feet from that property line. Again, that's my own property.
Okay,
The front setback, I believe, is fine, 90 feet from the edge of the road to the front of the building.
yeah,
The reason why I want it 20 feet versus 40 feet, just to give my lawn a little bit of, I've got a lot of wind coming from this way right here, so I'm kind of using it as a wind block. Trying to keep it a little bit further away from my septic. At some point, I do want to take this existing garage off that goes from the front and do a 2-car garage off the side. So putting this back a little bit to the right is helping with that as well.
so what's the, what are the dimensions of the,
Oh, yeah, I realized I messed it up. It's a 48 by 56 pole barn with a 16-foot lean-to off the left hand side. This one's messed up. That's 16 feet. That's 48.
okay,
That's 56.
and the distance between, this still is in place, right?
That's correct.
Okay, between here and here is approximately,
I would say about 24, maybe 25 feet.
okay.
Are there any other structures, buildings around them?
No, there's about, my property goes back another, like, I don't know, 300 feet behind my house, existing house. And then there's probably another 200 feet of woods and then a private airstrip. Clifford lives back there.
So the footprint of the building would be 64 by 56?
Correct.
So what are you intending to store in the building? Just that
Yeah,
it be that big?
bulldozer, backhoe, just stuff that's been deteriorating under the weather the past few years.
So like heavy equipment?
That's
type?
correct, yeah.
And your particular lot here that you're living on is how big?
It's a 2-acre parcel, actually 2.2 to be exact.
Okay. Had you bought like all 3 parcels at the same time?
I bought the house and an 8-acre parcel to the left at the same time, and then it took me 5 years to get enough money to buy the
Okay,
20-acre parcel. All from the same guy, Richard Reynolds.
What's the height of your barn?
The peak is about 31 feet. Which it's the exact same height of my house. If you were to, because where that barn is actually goes down just a little bit. So I'm actually matching the heights of them to make it look, I didn't want that pole barn to like overtower the house. I wanted to make it look decent.
so,
But I also didn't want it to just be a straight roof, so I do have a second floor with a loft downstairs.
okay.
4 dormers. I actually have the right here if you want to take a peek at it.
Yeah, you could just submit it with the application, just so.
Right now?
I don't know, do we have it in our,
No, you don't.
okay.
Just that. This is just.
All right, we'll just take a look.
See what the-
The next page will show you where the dormers are. But there is no rendering.
You had an architect put that together?
Yeah. Got a couple of years into it.
Yeah.
No. The wells in front of the house, right?
So will you be putting a driveway in to the pole?
Right now, my driveway, I already have kind of a U right here. And I'll just extend it a little bit more. I already have in the back here, some parking areas, something like that.
And this is gonna be a pole barn?
Correct.
Okay. And then are you gonna have some kind of slab within the barn itself, or?
Not right away, I can't really afford it right now, but someday I probably will.
Okay,
Just sinking floors.
yeah. You can have a seat.
Right. She said she measures the wall. It's 48, 60 foot.
So it's just a gable roof?
to the best of your knowledge, there's nothing of any like historical significance or, okay,
Just a couple of pretty small trees.
okay. And again, I may have missed it. You've been there for how long?
About 8 years now.
You built your house or was it? No.
No, it was existing.
Do you have any idea how old the house is?
50s or 60s.
Any other questions? Okay, in light of that, then I'll go ahead and the ZBA will determine that the request for a lot line variance is an exempt type 2 action pursuant to Title 6 NYCRR Section 671.5C 12 or 13, and that no further action pursuant to secret is required.
Okay.
Aye.
John, Matt,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Dan.
Aye. And we'll need another public hearing declaration. Somebody can do that.
Okay. Move that we set a public hearing for Director Patterson, 951 Batter Street, Pattersonville, SBL 34.00-2-8.2 for a 20-foot east. We determine what direction it is?
West.
North.
Yeah.
North is down, so.
That would be west.
That's side yard variance. Pursuant to
8.62.
oh, thank you. 8.62 to be heard 7 p.m. or November 16th at 7 p.m. or soon after she can be heard.
Second.
John,
Aye.
Matt.
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
Dawson.
Aye.
Lynn.
Okay, you're all set. We'll see you back in November.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Bye.
How you doing?
Last but not least.
Your ultimate wishy-wash?
Yes, and ultimate wishy-wash.
We'll need a name because we don't have.
Spiro Kagas, 9938 Western Turnpike. Ultimate wishy-wash,
And your last name is spelled.
Kagas. Now, so we get started here. I have a couple of aerials here that we can pass out.
Name was,
And I'm obviously here for the variance, which I'd like to also submit a signature from the neighbor next door on the west side, who it's going to be directly affecting, and that's William Snyder. And
Okay.
he's okay with the proposed addition creeping up on the property line over there.
Now, were you dealing with the planning board in regard to this, or,
Not yet,
Not yet.
okay,
because we need to get a variance before.
Yeah.
okay, that's what I'm asking, yes, they sent you to us, yeah.
Yeah,
So we have all the plans to do the condition, but we need to get the variance.
and I believe you should already have, the architectural plans there too. At least I think.
No, we should.
And, the, another aerial.
So, you have like a regular car wash bay, and then the larger is the truck bay.
So. One bay fits the big trucks,
Okay.
and I have a small bay for cars.
Right.
But both bays are used for both cars and trucks.
Yes,
Okay, it is also a self-serve wash over there.
Certain trucks, not all trucks. Can use the car.
Correct. And, the proposed addition will be right here. And what I'm seeking here is to be able to have the driveway for people to at least come around the building and to exit out.
All over right now for free, all over the place. There was a nice one up in Boston's Bob about a week ago for 500. It was a really nice one too.
okay, so,
Okay. Property line right there, Bill's house is right here,
Well,
and
yeah, it's further over, that's why I
Correct.
need a photocopy of the other aerial.
you want to come up here?
No, I'm just saying. That's why we did that, because
Yeah,
we
just-
wanted you to see
just to show
where
you
his
that
house is.
His house is quite a bit still further away from the property.
Okay.
right there.
so you're looking to basically replicate the existing truck bay, but I guess that's to the west.
Yes, yeah,
And then you're gonna have a further area between that bay and the property line for like a driveway.
yes,
towards-
yep, just a, like a thoroughfare there.
Okay.
Consider the drive.
I don't know off the top of my head,
I don't think you need a variance for the driveway.
No.
Not a structure.
yeah,
And again, that would be, I think, part of the site plan review and not our purview.
right, yeah.
So the obvious question is, why not on the other side?
The other side, I have a
Pond, yeah.
And that's the obvious answer.
Yes, yeah,
it's okay.
and again, this
I
is,
definitely would have gone on the other side just to avoid it, but no, that ain't happening.
and this is commercially zoned,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
so that, and again, the setbacks are comparable to an R2, which we normally deal with.
So residential setback and commercial setback is the same thing, 40 feet?
Side yards.
Side
yes,
yards, right?
yeah.
Okay, all right.
And it's an R2. Again, we dealt with an R1 earlier, which is.
Yeah, I was listening.
Okay, so then between the edge of the new bay and the property line is how far?
24 feet.
Yeah,
Okay,
So it's a 16-foot variance. which is
Okay,
the-
yep. And there's actually a stone wall. That's the property line that runs
Mhm.
right between the properties there. Works.
And I have to ask, is there anything on the property, I don't know, it's commercial, this is the seeker concerns? It's not, okay.
Again, sort of like the last one, it's, the variance itself has no secret implications. It's
Right.
what the site plan review happens, there may or may not be secret implications.
The same thing, but we'll do the same,
To declare ourselves lead agent, but
Well,
we
no,
can
but-
pass our part of it.
yes, yeah. Well, as, and Daniel had made us aware that if there were something that we would have to take an extra step before we declared it type 2.
And we were concerned that the neighbor's house was a historic, eligible for the historic register or something like that.
That's a building house. Over the last 20 years.
There are a couple further up. Out there.
This way.
Yeah,
Mhm.
not close enough to be a concern. for much people. Is that pretty steep drop off down in the pond there?
On this side right here?
Yeah.
No, not really. Maybe
Like.
a couple of feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that where your water comes from?
Water pulls from the back pond right here.
Oh, right there.
Yeah. And I discharge right there.
Uh-huh.
And by me adding on the next bay over here, I'm gonna be reclaiming water from over here, from the discharge and using that too. So it's a lean operation with the water, thankfully.
Yeah.
Not anything else though.
Do you have any other water source other than the ponds? Wow.
Not yet, but we'd like to get one.
Did you put this in the first place?
Mhm.
No.
This was purchased in 2012. And the previous owner did this. Now, the speedies permit that I had issued 1977, so a lot of maintenance with that, because the water's tested every 3 months. So, it's some work to keep up with it, but the water's always good over there. I got turtles, muskrats, frogs, all kinds of pains in the asses in that pond right there.
So if that pond freezes over, there's still, you still have the ability to draw water from it?
Yes, yes. Well, there can be problems though, if, but it's gonna be good for the reclaiming from both places, because just in case something happens, I do have the next water source.
Yeah, I used a car wash once and it was like in the teens or colder.
Yeah.
And it worked just fine, except all the after I drove out and drove away, everything froze on the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't matter if the water's hot or cold.
Yeah.
And of course, your traditional self-serve bays are 3 to 4 bays. I only have a 2-bay wash over here.
Yeah.
So I lose quite a bit of business when the winter does come. So it really hurts to see the cars turning away and going because they don't want to wait. But that's the unique part of the business though here is by adding on the other truck bay, really my niche is the big trucks, but I still get to utilize the bays for all cars.
Right, so you'll have 3 functional bays.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
I mean, I could have just done a regular car bag, but that really doesn't really help me for what I'm trying to achieve over there right now. Because I do a lot of RVs and self-serve. There's a lot of people that come in with their own self-serve, to do travel trailers, RVs and stuff that want to do it themselves to save a little bit of money.
Any other questions? Okay, so I will, the ZBA will determine that the request for an individual setback and lot line variance is an exempt type 2 action pursuant to Title 6, NYCRR Section 671.5 C 12 or 13, and no further action pursuant to secret is required. Thank you.
Nelson,
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
Wayne.
Aye.
All right.
And again, we need another public hearing. Excellent. I guess. I think these ahead of time were kind of the motion sheets.
Move that we set a public hearing for Spiro. Davis.
Close enough.
Your address is 889 Esperance Road.
Correct.
For a 16-foot west side variance pursuant to 11.6 sub 2 and 14.5.2 B. 5. For the construction of a car wash bay on property located at 9938 Western Turnpike, SBL 53.00-1-29.21 to take place November 16th at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter, as he can be heard. Second.
John.
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
Wayne.
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye. You're all set.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll see you again in November though.
Okay, will it be here
Yes.
again, or would you Zoom?
Can
we, are they?
I don't know what the
Okay.
guidelines.
Who knows what's gonna happen by then, right?
Hey, if you can be here, it's probably the better.
Yeah, well, we prefer that, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And especially if, again, people will be invited to, participate in the public hearing if they have questions.
Yeah, we know the drill.
Okay, good. Not a problem.
We know that buzzsaw.
We know 6 months of that. It's okay, though.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
I'm just gonna, Melissa's gonna make a copy of the
Oh,
signature I got from Bill next door.
Okay.
Okay, and again, that will be entered into the public hearing.
Yeah.
Comments, and again, there may be other folks willing to do the same.
I
So
got, but that really, it really directly affected him, so
you're the more
I took
proximate
the time to
neighbor.
go, to go talk to him just to make sure. And if there was anything else he wanted me to do differently, I would do that to, to satisfy his needs and be a good neighbor.
There you go.
What everyone wants to do, right?
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye, Melissa.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you. It's a big problem and it's gonna continue to be a problem. Solar's not going away.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, you are providing this to the planning and the town boards, I'm assuming.
that was dropped off today for the planning board and for the town board.
Okay. Because they usually have much more say in this matter than we do.
But I think that zoning needs to step up and become a part of it. These projects go from, I sit and I stay at these meetings because I learn so much. And what I heard tonight were multiple people with very small problems. Have to go to the planning board kicks you here, kicks you there. Solar, 65 acres, 45,000 panels. Who reviewed it?
Well,
Just the planning board.
yes, and normally they would, and unless it were gonna be something that involved the variance. And I think the only time we got involved with that, there was something in the variance about the amount of tree removal. And so we went out, part of the zoning board, and we actually had them fine tune that. First of all, because the definition of a tree was not specified. So we had to determine that, and then, again, the amount of tree removal, that it'd be a little more specific than it was.
Yes, and I appreciate that, but I think zoning needs to be involved. If there are contaminants coming off of this, and I studied that for 6 months. I've spoken to DuPont researchers, biochemists. I'm like 90% positive that the anti-reflective coating, of which these developers say is anti-glare, because once you really get into their documents and their applications, they twist the words, everything becomes a weasel word. And so the developers say it's an anti-glare coating, when actually it's an anti-reflective coating. And what the purpose of that is, it lets in certain wavelengths, and then they get trapped inside the panel so that it begins to generate more electricity. That's the purpose of it. It has nothing to do with reducing glare whatsoever.
Okay,
That may be an after effect, but the real purpose of it is to generate more electricity and more revenue. And, you know, when I spoke to DuPont, a former researcher there, he's like, you can't use me on the record, but yeah, you're going down the right path and keep digging. There's something to it. Is there enough evidence for, you know, today? That's for somebody else to decide. All I can do is my research. But if, you know, with contaminated sites and contaminated panels, these things need to be in an industrial area. We should not be building this on top of an aquifer. You know, this is ridiculous, and I listened to the meetings tonight, and you ask questions. How close is the well? My well is 600 feet from this thing. No one asked me where my well was. It's, you know, there has to be checks and balances. And what went down with Oak Hill Solar, there was no checks and balances. It just went straight on through. And I think zoning should be stepping up and saying, we're gonna put solar here. Solar's fine, but it needs to be in certain areas.
right, well, usually, again, our involvement, and this did come down to, with the new zoning or the solar law, is that we would provide recommendations, and the two that we did provide, one is with, they have to do a site plan review, and it was not specifically required that a public hearing be, you know, held for the site plan review. This is what the planning board would do prior to their actual decision on the project itself. And we recommended that it would be necessary, be required, because that's when a lot of the information is being, you know, garnered, and gives people up the opportunity, kind of what you're doing here, to point out, well, you know, this is something that should be taken into consideration. Because, you know, my feeling too, my own personal feeling is that sometimes the projects come along and they've been reviewed prior to the people that are going to be impacted, you know, kind of at the later process, you know, and then they don't have that much time to react to it.
I heard about it 7 days before the public hearing.
Right, and this
You know,
goes,
and when you go into the telecommunications law for this town, you have to put up a 3 by 5 foot placard at the road at the time of application,
oh, okay.
right? So that's a way to take something that impacts many people and make it public knowledge very quickly. And I began asking for that in 2019. I'm like, you know, your telecommunications law is 17 pages long and your solar law is 3.
Well, part of that is because, and what we also have found, that a lot of the zoning ordinances are either, I wouldn't, they're somewhat kind of undefined or vague.
Yes.
Because again, people just don't have all the knowledge to specifically, you know, write into the zoning laws what needs to be taken into consideration.
Mhm.
I mean, and this does have merit, again, only from the zoning board's, perspective, we would not see something until it actually requires for a variance, say.
Mhm.
So, but again, making the planning board aware of this, and it helps them too, because that way they're not gonna make a decision that, would not have all the information that they should have.
It,
Um,
everything feeds together, and with such a huge project and 65 acres, I speak in front of the state, I speak in front of towns that are dealing with 3,000 acres of solar panels.
Hmm.
And, yes, this is absolutely horrific, it never should have happened this way. I'm not saying solar panels should not have gone there next door to me on Oak Hill. I
Yeah,
am saying that the entire process really stunk.
well, and again, that's where,
And that's why I'm asking the zoning board to say, well, maybe we should become involved. Let's look at some of the zoning maps. What's really going on here? How can we become more involved in this and help protect and support the comprehensive plan? That's all I'm asking for.
right, yeah, in fact, the other thing Dan had this, I'm trying to think of the name of it, that the geo mapping.
Oh, the GIS.
The GIS maps?
Yeah,
Yeah,
which would give you a perspective of, say, a project and what visually you would be
The view shed
seeing.
analysis,
View shed analysis,
Mhm.
right,
especially view sheds without tree coverage too, so
yeah,
analysis.
and there's, the solar is very complex. It is not going away. Wind is kicking up. There's 2 applications on Route 30 going into Amsterdam for 4 turbines. Once they put in 4, you can pretty much expect 100. They put in their little samples. So those just went in maybe 6 or 7 months ago. Middleburg has 2 wind turbine applications. And when I keep asking for the wind law to be reviewed, I'm told, we don't have wind here. It's not advantageous to the companies. And to me, that's very short-sighted, because after 2 years, I've learned renewable energy is very little to do with the generation of electricity and everything to do about the transfer of wealth. So you really have to look at how are we protecting the taxpayers? How are we protecting property values? How are we protecting property rights? And how can the zoning, planning, and town boards work together to come up with something that supports our comprehensive plan and makes Duanesburg a town you want to live in? Glen's just being slaughtered with solar. Montgomery County, Fulton County, some of them, they have more solar going in those counties than anywhere else in New York State. And the next step will be the transmission lines. And that map comes out in 6 months from public service, and that's where eminent domain will start.
yeah, because my understanding is that there's a concern about so much, electrical energy being generated by solar, but the utility's not really kind of set up to absorb it all.
The grid is fragile. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fragile.
and the utility is not always inclined to want to just accept solar, that my understanding, again, is somewhat my opinion, that they depend more on the more, reliable sources, be they fossil fuel or the like.
Yeah, you want a dense power supply, and solar, it comes and go when it wants to. It's like sunbeams and breezes are not gonna power Granny's ventilator. It's just, you're not gonna rely on that to take care of somebody you love. You want nuclear, you want fossil fuel, you want hydro. And the bottom line is, when you look at the ISO's gold book in power generation, upstate in Western New York, we are carbon neutral. We get our electricity from nuclear and hydro. We're not generating the problem. It's all of this is being powered downstate. When you look at the detailed paperwork, you know, because I submit freedom of information against NYSERDA, and you go into Oak Hill's documentation, it is quite likely that they are not even selling the electricity in New York State. Hecty Green, that's, let's see, they're selling 40% of the electricity to Connecticut. Casagda Wind Power Purchase Agreement, 40% to Connecticut. This is not benefiting a local community. And of course, NYSERDA just doesn't want any of that information out. So I, of course, submitted at all their meetings, but you know, if we're gonna, if New York State wants to hit carbon neutral, if they want the Climate Leadership Community Protection Act to be enforced, then they need to limit the electricity into New York State and stop taking rural New York lands. They come up here just because it's cheap. They put up crap, they leave. The projects are sold like that. Oak Hill was sold within 2 months. And for all I know, it's already sold again as soon as they get a building permit. It'll go to the next company. They are investors. They know how to make money.
There are a lot of elderly farmers who
Yep.
can't really use their land anymore and see that as a means of having, you know, retirement or whatever.
Mhm. Like you go to the town meetings in Glen, because it's Amish, elderly, and the young kids coming in. And those meetings are just so, they're so powerful because you have all sides speaking about it. And the Amish show up in force. You know, they're there, they don't speak, but they have informed the town that if Mill Point Solar goes in, and that's the 2,000 acre one. So it's 3 Central Park size, all solar. To put it in perspective, if that goes in, the Amish have said that they will pull up and leave. That they have no reason to remain here. And that they don't have land for their youth to build upon and purchase. That their future is dead in Glen, and that they will leave. There's 80 letters from the Amish to the town stating that. Yeah, the town of Glen is gonna be a massive showdown. And I think the siting board's beginning to understand that the cumulative effect of power plant after power plant after power plant is putting our farmers, you know, our hardware stores, our seed stores, our repair guys, it's putting them all out of business. It's not coming back.
So when you mentioned that there's a drive from downstate to just expand more and more solar, is that because there's a need for it, or?
Well, we shut down Indian Point Nuclear, so that's like 1,100 megawatts. Let's just say it's 1,000 megawatts.
Okay.
All right, Oak Hill Solar is 65 acres, 10 megawatts. We're talking right now, the last CLCPA meeting I listened to, they're talking about 500 square miles of solar going in. If you want to reach the CLCPA's target for wind, you're putting a turbine up every day for 20 years.
There's a lot of landfills.
It's a lot of landfills. And, you know, whether the solar panels on any of these arrays contaminate the soil underneath, where are all those panels going? And there is no plan. You know, and these are bigger issues than your zoning board and our town. But
isn't that part of the application that for, I guess, just, you know, the cleanup if the solar, you know, farm is no longer viable and.
the decommissioning plan, like,
Yeah.
the decommissioning plans, the developers do everything they can to get out of what they need to do. So Oak Hill, and I speak about it because I've been writing so much and it's on my mind. Oak Hill's decommissioning plan, they finally came out with one for battery storage, and they're stating on one piece of paper that 4 storage containers and 20 DC to DC couplers is gonna cost $36,000 to decommission. And that the manufacturer of that battery storage is gonna come and pick them up and take them back to Washington State in 40 years. As if that manufacturer will even be around, right?
Yeah.
So where is that going? And that prompted me to get looking at some other battery storage. And there's only 116 megawatts of battery storage in all of New York State installed. Out of that, I don't even know what's operational.
What's the purpose of the battery storage though? I mean, wouldn't it? I thought more of the solar energy being generated just goes right into the utility.
It acts like a peaker plant, so you'll have more of the battery storage kicking into the grid when people are coming home, turning on lights, turning on furnaces. So it only operates for a couple of hours. The battery storage at Oak Hill, I believe, is only good for 2 hours.
Okay.
So you have all of this infrastructure for a very short period of time. And what the battery storage can do, it can charge off of the grid, or it can charge off of the panels or turbine. So actually, you know, when they promote green energy, it's coming from the battery. That could actually be the developer buying cheap electricity at one point in the day, and then selling it back in the evening when it might be double the price. It's a way for them to make more money. It's all about money. And I'm gonna jump back to the decommissioning. So, you know, 40 years from now, who knows if that manufacturer's around? The town may or may not accept $36,000 as a decommissioning fund. Flint Mine, which is down in Athens and Coxsackie, was just approved in August of this month, the decommissioning plan for that. For basically the equivalent amount of megawatt hours. $450,000.
Flint Mine, as in Flint Mine Hill?
It's Coxsackie in Athens, and I don't know the exact location.
Because Flint Mine Hill is probably the #1 Paleolithic site and largest Paleolithic site in New York State.
Is that in Coxsackie in Athens?
It's in Athens.
It might be similar. Like my site, my house, my whole property is cataloged, it was cataloged by the archaeological groups in 96. Grandmother was still alive. And, you know, Eden, their application doesn't even have it on there. It has Sheldon Farmhouse on there as a historic site. But the reason they did the archaeological dig at Oak Hill was because of my property, but they don't even mention it. Like the developers come in and they omit whatever they want, and it's not as if, you know, Oak Hill is the only one they've done this on. It's application after application after application. I hear from people all over New York State, Europe, England, Europe, like everybody is running into these similar problems.
Oh, I can check on that and see if SHPO is aware.
SHPO was aware of it. I spoke with Tom and he filled me in on a lot of it, and that's where I got the archaeological study, of which has the photographs of all the trees being cut at Oak Hill. I mean, that's how you begin to put the pieces together, is you have to do the freedom of information. That's why I say zoning board, planning board, town board, you all have to be looking at these projects. I don't want to make more work for anybody, but if we don't protect our lands, who's gonna want to live here? I hear in Glen the other day, I was speaking and people were telling me about a certain solar plant on a certain road. They're like, we used to love driving down that road. It was so beautiful. It had the tree, you know, and they're explaining this whole history of this road to me. And they spoke, and as soon as that solar plant went in, we drive 30 miles the other way. You know, we do not want to see it. So I hope that everybody can work together and and do better than what happened to Oak Hill. And find some better laws as the town works on a new solar law and battery law. So, and I'm happy to talk to anybody, obviously. Solar became sort of the pandemic jigsaw puzzle for me.
No, I mean, again, the information does have merit, and like I say, some of it, even the planning board is probably not even aware of unless somebody were to bring it to their attention, which is,
As Melissa can vouch, I bring a lot to their attention.
well, that's your right to do so.
Do they read it? I have no idea,
Well-
but I do try.
Yeah,
It is forwarded. Forwarded.
Yeah, no,
Every one of them.
Thank you.
and I'm sure, again, just like we would avoid trying to make a decision that ultimately, we ended up determining, well, we should have known that before we actually did that.
Mhm.
Most of the stuff that we do, I mean, we're kind of like the exception to the rules.
Mhm.
That's why they call it the zoning board of appeals. So it's the planning board, they end up seeing, again, the major projects first before we do, unless they need our, okay, which a couple of the applicants
Mhm.
tonight were seeking, and then we could say, yeah, you can go back to the planning board.
Mhm. Most of the towns that I speak to throughout New York State, for these large projects, and specifically for solar and wind and batteries, they make it go through every single board. You have to speak to every single board, so that everybody is aware of what may or may not be happening. And in Gloversville, Eden Renewables is up in front of Gloversville since 2019, and they just bounce from every single board, and at this point in time, they're trying to claim public utility status. And therefore, you must put it in.
Where is Eden Utilities out of?
Eden is owned by Harry Lopes and Giovanni Maruca. Both of them are British citizens. Giovanni has dual, so he's American and British.
Company's based in the UK.
The company started in the UK. Soon as the subsidies dried up in the UK, they came here. The first thing they set up technically was a company called Gridex, which is a shell in Mauritius, which is a tax exempt shell. And after Gridex got set up, then they set up all the rest of the companies, of which they're substantial. Like if something goes wrong, there's no one to sue. There's nobody to get legal recourse from. AMP then bought it, and AMP and Eden have been doing business together since 2015. They were both on the same board for Solarplicity, which lends out money. AMP went bank. Did AMP? I'm gonna shut up. I'm not positive. There were some financial issues. And another company infused AMP with a great deal of money. The companies come and go very quickly. It's very important that all of the documents, everything is in order. Because if something goes wrong, they have so many shells set up, there's no hope. The town will become responsible. And I think we all learned a painful lesson, with the fire at Derby Hill. How long did that take? And get cleanup and asbestos and,
Are there municipalities that you know of that have restricted, like solar, farms or the like to certain zoned areas within a town?
well, John Kerry, our US emissary for renewable energy, Chilmark, in Massachusetts, Martha's Vineyard. You go into their laws, solar is allowed on one parcel in that entire town, which is the town dump.
Okay,
You hit any wealthy neighborhood, and that is how their solar laws are written.
okay, so that is within the realm of possibility then.
Yes,
Okay,
Well, you set up industrial parks and industrial areas, and then you designate that as
right, and
It's industrial.
yeah, but right now, there is not that restriction, right?
No,
Since more, Dwaynesburg is R2.
We don't have a zone.
Right, but that would be something that if you were gonna pursue, trying to eliminate, massive solar farms is try to restrict it via the,
and that is exactly what the wealthy communities do. It's like, oh yeah, we love solar, we support this is a great idea, and you get 1 10-acre parcel in the entire town, and that's the dump.
The way it is now, solar is exceptional in terms of industry and business. You have a business corridor, for example, where, you could only build your Walmarts here, but you could put solar farms wherever you want.
well, again, that's maybe before people realize what, the consequences of it not being restricted.
Mhm. And a lot of the developers are bait and switch. It's like, oh yeah, it'll be 8.5, it's gonna do this, it's gonna do that, and then as soon as they show up for a building permit. And when I did the FOIL for the building permit, and I think Melissa may remember it, it was, yeah. And now it's probably up to 2,000 pages. I mean, it is a substantial amount of paper, where the application application fits in your notebook. And that's pushing it. The application, I sat there with a ruler one night and measured it all. But it's a constant bait and switch. And this is going on town after town after town. Eden has become my pet. I'm deciding if they're gonna be my PhD project. Because they've done 18 projects in New York State, all very rapidly, all basically the same, and I can get all the freedom of information on all of them. And they've done to the majority of those projects, they've done exactly what they've done to Twinsburg. Sure, there's battery storage. Yeah, that's a trench that says battery. There's no container. And that has gone on project after project after project. And those towns, they talk to me, they're all fed up too. This isn't how rural New York treats people. I've been here 5 generations. I'm used to doing business on a handshake in my town. And that's what they take advantage of. They come in, we're your buddy, we're your friend. I remember Harry just sitting there going, I'm a farmer. And I'm like, yeah, you're a farmer. You got a 3,000-acre estate, a couple castles. Your mother's an Astor.
I thought you were gonna say something else.
What?
I thought you were gonna say something else. when you said
Oh,
that.
no, sorry. But it is a fascinating, I find it absolutely fascinating how the system works, how the developers have come in to rural New York in America, and what has happened. And truly, it may just be my PhD. What is fraud and corruption in renewable energy? Of course, none of the universities want to hear from me. They're like, no, you're not coming to Columbia. We think renewable energy is great.
You might find one or two.
I keep looking.
Try
So,
Florida.
okay. Look at my
Try West Virginia.
What?
Try West Virginia.
Really?
WVU. Sim Coles.
But I thank you for your interest and I think, everybody's gonna have to come together and work between all the boards.
We're interested.
And make it better. Because what's happened at Oak Hill never, ever, ever should have happened. Period.
Well, on that note, I make a motion that we
Yeah.
adjourn. the meeting.
No, actually, before we get to, yeah.
Okay.
Don't forget
your water bottle.
Oh, thank you.
So on the meeting minutes, thank you. for-
Oh, I'm gonna stay to the end,
Okay.
just being polite.
The meeting minutes were on the motion to grant Randy Passano the home occupation permit. I just changed the wording a little bit. So I'll give you this,
Okay.
so it's a little clear. Other than that, I didn't see anything else unless somebody else did. What I changed, it said for in-home office for conducting necessary business for Collar City Auctions, Realty and Management. I just crossed out necessary business for and just, it would read for conducting Collar City Auctions, Realty and Management business, period. And
Make the motion to approve the minutes as amended.
okay.
By Nelson.
There's the variance form, I wrote it up.
Oh, for
Yeah, I mean,
Howard City?
yes.
John.
Aye.
Matt. Nelson.
I,
The June.
not, I'm
I
sorry.
did, apparently.
The links I sent out for the training, I think are valid, but the ones for the sexual harassment, Carmi sent out ones that they were going to accept as meeting that requirement. I know you already had yours through the state, so.
I had 25 years of it. I don't know how much more I can take.
You ain't done yet.
I know.
So she posted a couple of links, basically they're YouTubes.
Okay.
I sent links as well, but use the ones that she provided. That's if you're not going to attend in person.
Oh, I'm from 6.
Yeah,
Just to see.
Yeah, this
was.
Yeah.
Trainings to my personal email.
yeah. Did you not get them?
I don't think so.
Okay. Now, you got the town email straightened out, right? Okay, but, so you should have gotten this, but anyway, I'll send them again, so we've got,
I can, maybe I missed it.
all right. Yeah, if you take a look, if you didn't get it, then I'll make sure you do get it. The other thing, the members listed on the town website for the zoning board, he's not on there. I don't know if it was something recently. So whoever does that. What?
Online?
Yeah,
You're not really here.
well, we need all the help we can get, so.
I was on there before.
I thought so too, but. All right, who wants to go home?
Anybody tried to make this motion?
I did, and I failed, so maybe somebody else.
No wonder you're not on it.
No, somebody go ahead and do it, so we can,
I make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
all right.
Lee.
I,
Dan.
All right.
Nelson.
I,
said something else.
Aye.
Matt.
I said the rest for the end.
good man.
I'm gonna take this home too. I got my other stuff in it, so.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
good. Yep, I just.
Thank you for listening. I really do.